Mr. Speaker, I hear a lot of people saying, Mr. Speaker, that we must ensure that we have good governance and that the action of Mr. Justice Maraga does not promote good governance. What is good governance if it's not inclusivity? Mr. Speaker, what Maraga has done is a way to ensure that we have inclusivity, which is part of good governance. Mr. Speaker, I also hear, and I support BBI. I'm a proponent of BBI, but we will not use BBI to erode gains that are already in this constitution. BBI is supposed to improve our lives by even enhancing inclusivity. So why would you take away the inclusivity that's already in this constitution in the name of BBI? Mr. Speaker, I know I sound angry, but the reason why I'm sounding angry is because for 12 years I fought to get here. And I cannot imagine that now once that I'm here, I am actually one of the people who cannot ensure that good governance, including inclusivity, is passed in this House. Mr. Speaker, I support Justice Maraga, and I pray that our President will be bold enough to dissolve this Parliament so that we go back to the people, Mr. Speaker, and get the people's mandate again. Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that this, the Article 27 or the 2/3 gender rule is the only area that has not been effected ever since this constitution was passed 10 years ago. Mr. Speaker, I am not surprised. I am not surprised going by what has been said in this House. But Mr. Speaker, I'm hopeful that if we move together, we can find a way to ensure that we solve this issue. And there is an opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Sorry, honourable members, let us just,
Why are you wearing Rosa with
now, Honourable Millie, again, don't become a prefect. Don't become a prefect. Now, Honourable Millie, the Honourable Rosa Boyo has done very well. She has made her point. And it is not even for me to even quarrel with that. She has been very eloquent. She has made her point. She doesn't even require the assistance of the Honourable Millie Odhiambo, who I'm sure is very aware of the Latin maxim, expressio unius est exclusio alterius. So I'm sure you are aware of that. Honourable Kanini Kega.
Speaker, thanks so much, Speaker. And I beg to relax the mask a little bit. Mr. Speaker, you have completely lost us, and especially for us who are not lawyers. Mr. Speaker, I want to associate myself with most of the sentiments that have been expressed here, Mr. Speaker, and mostly with what has been said by the Honourable Junet and Honourable Chair of JLAC. Honourable Speaker, I don't want to dwell on the merits or demerits of the advice. Honourable Speaker, I want to dwell on the aspect of how that message was relayed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya was supposed to proceed on terminal leave last month, but he decided not to go and instead cashed the leave days. It's true. He decided not to go on leave, but decided to cash the leave days. In law, it might not have a lot of issues. But you know very clearly that the flamers of those people who came up with work ethics and all that, the reason as to why you are supposed to go on terminal, or not terminal, but on leave, even here in Parliament, we go on recess. Because we know for sure that your productivity diminishes the more you stay in a workplace without going on leave. And some of the results, Mr. Speaker, of fatigue is sometimes making irrational decisions. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to say that this could be an irrational decision, but I am saying this as the chairman of budget, because each and every day, the judiciary is, claiming every day that we are not giving them enough money. They are saying we are not giving them enough money, yet they have enough money to pay for leave days. Mr. Speaker, that one I have an issue. And it is an issue that we also need to consider. Because if you lead by example, and instead of proceeding for your leave, you decide to cash that money, and you know the salary of the Chief Justice is not 100,000, it's in millions. So for me, it's a concern. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, this House is the one that vets the Chief Justice. If he makes good his promise that he will leave by January, though he said that he will still be in charge, and in an unlikely event that this parliament is dissolved, there will be no assembly to vet the Chief Justice. In essence, it means then, of course, the Chief Justice will continue serving as the Chief Justice. Could it be a ploy to also extend his term by taking us home? But far from that, Mr. Speaker, the import of what he said means that we will go for another general election, so to speak. The lawyers might say that it is not a general election, but in essence, it is a general election. Because elections will be held in each and every polling station, in each and every stream. It calls for a budget. And to be modest, it's about 20 to 30 billion shillings. As the chairman of budget, in the budget that I've seen, there is absolutely no provision for that allocation. Absolutely no provision. So where is that money going to come from? IABC has been said here that IABC is not properly constituted. So who is going to undertake this election? Could it be that somebody somewhere wants to plunge this country into crisis? And some of these small decisions, or some of the small things that we are saying, might create crisis in the country. We took some time, myself and the chairman of JLAC, and went to the Chief Justice. And we told him, we don't want to see you again on those stairs, lamenting, you don't have money, you don't have issues here. Come to us. If you have any issue, come to us. In essence, we were telling him, even if maybe we had foreseen this kind of a situation. If he has issues with members of parliament or the National Assembly, he should also have taken time to come and see you. You are head of an institution. You are, okay, I think, and in future we will change these titles. And I think that is where the problem is. The Chief Justice is the president of the judiciary or the Supreme Court. I think those are some of the things that we need to change. Because sometimes we give ourselves titles that give you some levels. We only have one president. You are the head here, and you are the chairman of the Parliamentary Service Commission. If the Chief Justice had issues, he should also, of course, have consulted you. Secondly, he should also have consulted his other junior officers, like the other judges, because there are cases in court already, alive cases. Cases that are alive, that have effect in this. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say from where I sit, I lead malice. And I think this advisory should be taken with the contempt it deserves, and it should be ignored. But we also thank you, Mr. Speaker, for what you have done, taking that bold step and appealing to the same courts. And I believe that the High Court will declare that opinion an opinion and null and void. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member Makueni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute in this very important matter. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by quoting the former Chief Justice Willie Mutunga in a recent television interview on his experiences as the Chief Justice of the country. And he stated that that particular office, the CJ's office, he actually discovered that it is very, very political. When you look at his experiences and what the current Chief Justice has done through his advisory to the President, you realize that, and from looking at it and reading it, you can read a lot of politics in that particular advisory. Having taken that decision, or him having, decided to dissolve Parliament, it has a lot of political implications in the country. It can be used for several reasons by different people to achieve different ends. But one thing which is clear out of it, Mr. Speaker, the moment you dissolve Parliament now, then you have dissolved the government. It means whether we like it or not, without parliament, you cannot have a budget, and therefore you can't run government, you can't run judiciary, the moment the House is absent, it's clear. And again, looking at the Constitution generally, and a lot of articles have been contributed here, I don't want to repeat them so that other members can also contribute. You must look at what is best for the country. What are the best interests for the country? And I think that's where decisions should originate. If this decision is not best for the country, looking at the current status, looking at advice like the one which has just been given by Honorable Kanini Kega, has he consulted on the budget? And therefore, as Honorable Omolo Otiende said, the Chief Justice is functus official, meaning the bullet has left. Once the bullet has left, we want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, that you have taken a very quick decision so that the bullet may not hit its target as desired. And going to court again, I believe, Mr. Speaker, we are going to get justice. We are going to look at the conflicting articles of the Constitution, and that the article which is most important and takes precedence is the one of the sovereignty of the people. That at the beginning and the end of it, it is the decision of the people, Mr. Speaker, and the decision of the people is clear. It has put us here for 5 years. And there are many other articles which support that basis, so that, Mr. Speaker, we do not end up in a situation whereby you close down the country. It's really a sadist situation. It is a wrong interpretation of the law. It must be revisited in one way or another, either through review or even a constitutional application, to analyze the constitutionalities. And I think it will be important for all lawyers in this House, Mr. Speaker, having followed this debate this afternoon and having gathered a lot of ideas, we need to pass this answered to the lawyers acting on our behalf, and some of us should volunteer also to support that cause, Mr. Speaker, so that justice is done in this country, and so that there will be no ideas, because you see the president already can decide, can still make decisions if this target is not moved as you're done through the courts. And Mr. Speaker, I believe from the answer of this afternoon is so useful to the lawyers, and all ideas have been put forward, and the best position has already come out of this. I really thank you, Mr. Speaker. We look forward to a station where our constitution as it is currently is followed, and that is the sovereignty of the people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute in this particular motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to urge the House that just as we respected the nullification of the election, though most of us did not agree on it, and those who were singing up and down that we should respect the courts and the decision of Maraga, are now the ones shouting the loudest that Maraga have erred, and that we should not respect the decision of Maraga. We should respect the courts. It's an arm of government. Judiciary, we are another arm of government, and the executive is another arm of government. So let us allow the president to make that particular decision, and I advise him that he should dissolve parliament so that we can go back to the people. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, protect me from honorable members because they are shouting that I am nominated. Don't think that being nominated is very easy. I represent 6.5 million Kenyans. Some of you represent only 30,000. So don't shout here up and down. Honorable Speaker, I'm specially elected. And if anything, when we go back to the people, my broken leg is still there. So I'll still table it and I'll still come here. So if you are not sure that you'll come here, don't start shouting up and down. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying this because sometimes it is us who fail, Honorable Speaker. there is an amendment I had brought in Article 27 for us to amend Article 27 to exempt the 2/3 general rule on elective position, because that totally contradicts Article 1, which places the sovereignty of our country on the citizen, who then can donate that sovereignty to the elected leaders.
Honorable Sangok, just in case that's what you have proposed, I think it's good to take free advice. Read Article 255 to realize that any proposed amendments to any provisions in the Bill of Rights, including Article 38(2), which was read on political rights, is a referendum matter. So don't do it within Parliament. That one, you shouldn't be collecting signatures out there. That's why even amending that one elective, even the collecting that, so that, you know, Honorable Sangok, is just to advise, to help you, so that now it's a good proposal, but if you have brought it here, it is in the wrong place. It should be out there collecting signatures.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. You know of this country, so we take your advice, and I've taken your advice very cleanly, because I didn't know where it have died, because I went to the committee responsible and I presented my case, so they never came back to me to also advise me on the same. And thank you today. Our constitution, he have contradicted our constitution. Taking me from my party majority whip, because I respect him so much. Why should we allow one article to have massive impact in our governance system? Article 54 of the Constitution talk of employment of persons with disability. We have not implemented that one. Honorable Speaker, we also call upon them, because why have you never, as a house, brought a motion here or a bill because of lack of gender representation in the executive? Our political parties, if you see Jubilee, the party leader is a man, the deputy party leader is a man, secretary general is a man. We have never called them here. If you see ODM, the same. We have never called them here. We vet cabinet secretaries, and they are not properly constituted. We pass them because we rubber stamp. Honorable Speaker, let them bite us this time. We are now, probably in the next 1 week, we shall be former members of parliament. We'll go back to the people. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Don't wish yourself that. You will not actually. Member for Waraka.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I'm not going to take long because members must speak before they rise. Mr. Speaker, This is a matter which we should not be testing our testosterone levels between the judiciary and the legislature. I wish that the people who are managing various departments of governance would have seen that the interests of the Kenyan person, the interest of we the people, is sovereign. Every decision you make, you must make knowing that what is the we the people saying. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to say so much about the Chief Justice because so many people have said things about him. But, you know, he's a man I have a lot of. I do not want to say so much about the Chief Justice because so many people have said things about him. But, you know, he's a man I have a lot of respect for. But he disappointed me on this, I must say. And he knows where he is that he has disappointed me. Because, you know, when you are a man who has been so unscathed, and when you are just about to leave the scene and enjoy, you know, the good name that you have enjoyed because of wise decisions, then you decide that with the one bullet that you are left with, you fire and then run. You see, it's like a king abdicating his seat. You see, because I can see what is interesting on paragraph 21 of the Honorable Chief Justice advisory. You know, he says things which I do not know how one would ever say anything like that. Says that when he looks at the articles of the Constitution, I doubt I can read it just because I want to get something. A purposive reading of Article 261 of the Constitution leaves no doubt that the Chief Justice role under the Clause 7, therefore, is simply to ascertain if Parliament has satisfied, and it goes on. I sympathize with him. You cannot be simplistic. And even if you're simplistic, don't say it. This is not just a constitutional crisis. This is a judicial coup in the country. This group of people are the people who are between the wananchi and the governed. If today we had war, what will happen here if this chamber was not there? If today we had emergency, what will happen here if this chamber is not here? Where is that interaction between the executive and the people if it is not the legislature? And so you make a decision and you obliterate the fulcrum between wananchi and their hard-earned democratic space, and then you express yourself that my role is simply to see. How simple can you be simple? And then he says, at the end of that discourse, he says that we have to enjoy this peace together, that there is no gain without pain, and that let us have the pain together if this is going to lead us to a transformation agenda. Well, if you want to enjoy the pain, you are going on terminal leave. Go and enjoy that pain. But don't bring Kenyans as a country into this type of pain. This is not pain. This is a judicial coup. You see, the only thing I'm happy about is that he has set the stage where now everybody is now convinced, I'm sure. I don't think my colleagues, whichever shade of opinion, can now rise to think that there is anything left for somebody to convince them about referendum. There's a lot of issues we must discuss. I remember Honorable Jacomidiwo stood here, member for Game, and said that this 20%, Mr. Speaker, we will one day have to meet eye to eye. Time has come. Time has come when now Kenyans must agree that this Constitution is ripe enough for refixing so that it can be repaired. One of the things I hear about a lot, people talking about Article 27. You know, Article 27 is very interesting. I don't see anything called about gender parity in it. There is nothing. The only language I have heard there is a form of an affirmative action. There is nothing about 2/3, nothing about 1/3. In 27, there is nothing. But what is interesting about 27, it is inherently contradictory because it begins from saying every person is equal. It goes, second one, people are equal, including full and equal enjoyment of rights, including those election rights. That is how it goes. Then it says that women and men have the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities. That is what 27 says. Then the state shall not discriminate. But when you open the other side of the page, now it starts different things. And it says that the state shall not discriminate directly against any person on the basis of so many other things, and that they would be, I'm just looking for it, it was here, that there is need to give full effect. Legislative measures to give full effect, including affirmative actions, programs, and so on. Okay? Now, then you have Article 81B. That is the point. If this constitution has spoken so closely about equal rights, everybody is the same. It is a beautiful world. We were all born equal. We are all beautiful and we are all awesome. Then Article 81B starts now talking different things. It says that now some people should be elected in a different way, which is now different from what has been expressed in 27. And then we had started with Article 1, we the people. We are equal before the face of the law, and we equal before God. This is now the discussion we must make. The contradiction which the Constitution is as imposed on itself. Because, Mr. Speaker, and everybody has said, if there was an intention that there was this gender parity had to be ingrained in the Constitution, nothing would have been harder for Otiende's group and other people to say so very clearly. And this is why, for example, it has been found here, Article 101 is what kicks out the general election. Article 102 talks about term, and that term is tied to the word used there is general election. It must be a general election. Then when you go to 103, which I want to say because I didn't hear anybody saying it, 103 is the only article which talks about how a member leaves this chamber. Vacation office. And it says, how do you leave? 1, you have to die. Then 2, you have to have missed sessions of this house in 8 consecutive periods. 8, yes. Then, in the term. Then, the member, I don't know whether this is what confuses them, that the member is otherwise removed from office under this constitution or legislation enacted under Article 8.2. Now, is otherwise removed. This one thing which Maraga did is not removal. Is dissolving. Is not removing anybody anywhere. You can only be removed here on chapter 6, for example. You can only be removed here if, for example, you have abdicated your responsibilities in your political party. It is removal, not dissolution. So this article here, it does not apply to what the Honorable Chief Justice is talking about. Then it says that the member resigns. You have to resign and write a letter to the Honorable the Speaker. Then you have left your political party, or you are an independent candidate, and so on and so on. Nothing in this constitution anticipates what 261 is talking about. If the drafters of the constitution wanted to see that there is a way again of vacating your office as a member, this is where they would have put it. This is where they would have put it. So, you see, I do not know how the Chief Justice, with all his wisdom, and I know he's a wise man, did not conjure up all these things together to notice that his direction under 261 was now an impossibility. He says that he only had one way. But in that way, he has also time to think through. What he didn't know, that you have time to, yes, you have one way, but you can think through, like Honorable Mutunga thought through and decided to exempt 10th Parliament, 11th Parliament. Honorable Mutunga thought through and decided to